Knuckles. What kind of voice should we give Knuckles?
It's got to be monotone. I feel like that's the most important quality.
I don't want to read it in monotone.
You don't want to read like a bunch of consecutive sentences without any affectation.
Knuckles glides north 1,500 feet above Lake Sakakawea at 800 miles per hour, following Highway 83. A small thunderstorm is somewhat visible to the south. The sky is 3/8 scattered with cirrus clouds and 1/8 scattered with altostratus clouds. The wind is 15 miles per hour with gusts to 20 miles per hour. Knuckles resembles a human, but with differences. Knuckles is neither male nor female, but he is referred to as a he. 3/4 inch thick, dark violet hex code FFA000E0 fur covers his entire body. He is only 25 1/3 inches tall, 4 inches wide, and 2.5 inches deep. Knuckles gets his name from his large hands, 40% bigger than a human his size would have. He's like a purple monkey alien with
He's just like a wretched homunculus. I don't understand what the vision was.
No, he does look like that weird, gross, like depiction of like the sense homunculus, if anyone's ever seen that. Hi, I'm Knuckles. That's me you see gliding at 800 mph. This was the story of my life and I'll never forget it. I'm from Corona, not Earth, though I've been on Earth for almost 3 Earth years. I'm 314 Earth years old, and thanks to spells and special abilities, I can live almost indefinitely. He's gliding to go find an escaped prisoner. He's a good guy. He's a good guy.
Is he? I feel like he is low-key like a propagandist.
He's pretty bad.
At the very least, he partners with CNN and not Fox News.
Hey, that's true. Empress Teresa, you know where they would be.
Yeah, for sure.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another meeting of the St. Balasar University English Club podcast. I'm Andrew.
And I'm Jay.
And we have had one of the most unique submissions to the English Club that we have gotten in a long time. I would dare say since Empress Teresa. We have received from Nick Smith, aka Ulillillia, The Legend of the 10 Elemental Masters. A book that defies summary. It is written as a script. It is possibly the first instance of something called the LitRPG genre that we have ever seen, and just has a very unique level of prose and dialogue that I think probably could be seen as some of the most compelling outsider art in a long time.
Yeah, it's a novel, it's a script, it's a design document for a JRPG. Honestly, what isn't it?
It is more things than it is not. The context of this book is kind of interesting to me because it's very old internet. This was a person who was basically discovered on SomethingAwful way back when he was posting these blogs about growing up being isolated and using video game terminology to view the world. So this whole era of the internet like just barely predated me being an active user of the internet, and I think the same thing is true with you, Jay. Like, Ulillillia wasn't someone you were aware of before?
No, but I remember when the internet was more like this, when interesting characters would get discovered by other people on message boards, and then, like, in an almost lolcow-like fashion, they would become more popular because people were talking about them. Not because they were trying to gain popularity, but just because they were being their weird selves and other people gravitated towards it.
Right, and that's what makes it so interesting to me is, like, there's none of that, like, trolling arcs crap or the, you know, any of the, I mean, people were making fun of him, but, like, the tone around this guy, there's got to be, like, a million documentaries about him on YouTube. He's just this wholesome guy. All he wants to do is work on his crazy video games and overcome his fears using, like, video game grinding concepts. And he wants to publish his books. So, like, people like Norman Bouton are just, they can be such unsavory characters because they're associated with all of this, like, ill will and again, like the trolling arcs, and I just think it's so refreshing that the internet likes this guy. He seems unproblematic, he's just he's in his own lane, but he's made this weird book that actually can teach us a lot about fiction and storytelling.
From what I know about him, he seems like, or he used to be, since he's not so active anymore from what I know, but like it seems like he used to be like fairly vocal and a bit of a contrarian, but ultimately harmless. Like I found an article that was sort of like an interview with him where some website had covered one of his games in progress. It was like an old school gaming website. And then he had responded in like a lengthy forum post. And then they, in sort of a tongue-in-cheek way, like republished some of his statements about how they got things wrong about his game. And it was just sort of like this silly, I guess sort of harmless back and forth. And I don't feel like you see that so much anymore. Like, I think it would quickly escalate these days into like something that was more overtly political. Right. Those certain elements being absent from this piece of outsider art is just, again, so freeing, because it's not like Nova's Playlist or Empress Teresa or even some Rich Shapiro books. Right, because if this happened on Twitter today, like, I don't know, it wouldn't really be so silly anymore. It would become like kind of upsetting. Right. With all of that said, it's like they tailor-made this book in a lab to specifically not appeal to me. Like, it has all of my pet peeves. Like, I don't like RPGs. I'll play Pokemon, but like how a 10-year-old does. Like, I don't IV train or EV train or whatever. I think I watched my friend play like SMT5 one time, and I literally got nauseous. So like, I can't do like all this stats-based stuff. I don't like reading scripts, which is the presentation of pretty much the entirety of the book. And I hate numbers. The most viewed video on our channel right now is this reel I posted just screeching about not liking the numbers in Empress Teresa. And it's like, this guy was like, you don't like numbers? Well, I'm going to define everything in hex codes. I'm going to give you the speed and vectors of every movement. It's like, it's a lot. And our dramatic readings are going to show a lot of stumbling over long strings of numbers. This reminds me so much of like my undergrad workshop days, when inevitably there would be one person who was writing a campaign or writing a short story based on their D&D campaign. Yeah. And it would be glaringly obvious when they were literally copy pasting a joke that was really funny around the table into like the written format of a short story. And it just totally bombed, and it like makes everybody come across as like a cringy asshole. Yeah. It's like if that one moment was extended into like an entire story. 300-page book. Really rough. It's really rough. Right. So I think this is going to be a really fun time. Hated this book, but it was also like this weird conflict in my heart, because I don't know. It's so nice. It's so nice that there's an internet weirdo and he's not known for something terrible. Like, I hate Something Awful. Like, nothing good has ever come out of Something Awful. I hold Richard Kayanka solely responsible for every problem in society today. But broken clocks, I guess, because this guy's really cool. So without any further ado, I think we just need to jump into this. I think we should get summarizing. But before we get started, I have to cast the spell of Appreciate 1 million to 19 targets. I don't think spells can level to 1 million. I think at that point they become a new class. Like it would it would become, let's see, what would appreciation turn into? Maybe like honorarium, or honorarium. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I cast honorarium 10 on 19 targets. 2 seconds later, a red spherical energy field will surround our supporters, and a green 1 million will pop out of them, including the commas. This spell has no effect. The spell's targets are Pink Catsy, Simply FJ, Dracolith, Rin, Arthur Clybourne Wrights, Spooks, John Pick, Window, Zubin, Courtney, Hallucigeno, Beep Beeps, Mar, Flamingo Sugar. Hey, we're going to talk about you in a second, Flamingo. Merca, Goldfish Petey, Dangerous Butterknife, Finsright, and Tuskina Kinaza. I also cast Teleport 16 on the beds of our English club members, which replace their bed sheets with themed patterns matching their personalities and interest. They are Natalia, Mallard Griff, Ace, Evil Red Flame, Milo, A Marvelous Geek, Will, Peach, Navari, Renee, Blade,
Kira, Astro, Charlotte, Corrupted Luna, Gecko Jesus, Ennui, Lolel, T-Ether, and Eris. Thank you guys so much for supporting and giving me the strength to sit through a book in which every color is defined by its hex code. And you have to consult a computer to understand how everything is colored. Since this is such a dense text and the individual definitions of certain words are so important to even understand what's happening diegetically, I figured that your poet mind would really appreciate all of these fine details and be able to make this story stop resisting summary, which is what we had always been told what makes a good story is it resists summary.
I'll see if I can parse this language for us, this patterned language. I think it might make sense right off the top to introduce our characters since it's in script format, and usually scripts begin with like a little cast. So yeah. I'll do that because I don't know if in our summary characters will be properly introduced just because things happen so fast. First up, off the top, we have our main character, Knuckles. Knuckles is a 2-foot-tall humanoid creature covered in purple fur. There is a hex code for that if you're curious, but you can go find a legally archived copy of the book if you want to know what that hex code is. He's over 300 Earth years old. He has no sex, which I guess means no genitals, but he uses he, him pronouns. He can glide like Knuckles in Sonic, but he's not Knuckles from Sonic because he's purple and 2 feet tall, and don't you forget it. He has the ability to choose who can hear him when he's speaking to a group. He always speaks monotonously, and he can live indefinitely using magic and other effects, which he has accrued over his many years of life. He obeys traffic laws when he runs along roadways, except for red lights and stop signs, which he always jumps over. Fun fact about Knuckles. Next up, we have Ivan. He is an 8th grader with a penchant for sports. He is also indigenous. Then we have 2, an 8th grader with a love of science. She's black, she's scrawny, she's short, and she has curly hair. We have Tyler. He is an explorer, and he likes rocks.
He's just a guy.
He's a guy.
He's some guy they picked up.
He's some man they found. And then we have a mysterious voice who is going to be our antagonist. I have no doubt that that character will be introduced appropriately, so I'm not going to spoil it.
Of course.
And I think that's everybody. Oh, wait, we have Steve. We have Steve, the vice president of Amazonia, which we will also get to in due time.
Right. Don't worry about what that is right now.
Yeah, okay.
Steve, the vice president of Amazonia.
Great sentence. Rivals PM Blair, if I'm being honest.
So how do you think you would characterize like the prose, as it were, that we're seeing? Since we have pretty explicit stage directions, surely there's an appropriate high level, like high bird's eye view level, I should say, of detail with things, and we don't have to worry about, specific positions and measurements or timings.
You would think that, but you would be wrong and dumb. Because, in fact, it's kind of from Knuckles' perspective. Like, it will frequently flip into this thing that's formatted in the text like another speaker, but it's narration, and it'll be like narration Knuckles. And so I guess it's supposed to be voiceover. I think that's what it's describing. Like, I think in Nick's head, he's imagining a TV show, and there's voiceover.
Yeah.
But it's like from Knuckles' point of view, basically, sort of. It's definitely not omniscient, that's for sure.
Our dramatic readings are going to kind of summarize it better than we could. Just the level of like ridiculous detail in terms of like the measurability of everything is perfectly defined.
Yeah.
It's a lot. And all the times are in UTC, which kind of bothers me.
It's weirdly specific, but like selectively specific, because there's certain things that it's consistently very particular about, but then there's all kinds of information that it will never include. So like, I think that maybe it doesn't itself realize the gaps in its own knowledge.
It absolutely does not. And it's just, it's so funny to me because like this, again, made in a lab to make me hate it.
It is weird how particular it is about just giving you these digits when so few of them have any significance. Like at least in
So
poetry,
few.
when there is a number, which is rare in most poems, it has some kind of thematic meaning or relevance, but here it's just the result of these brute calculations of like stats
Yeah.
that we sometimes don't even have access to. And I'm fairly confident that Nick was doing some actual math based on character stat blocks to determine like how much damage was done to them by various attacks and things, because I think some of the formulas for that are laid out in one of the appendices. But again, we don't have access to all of that.
No.
So it's very boring. It's very boring. I guess
Yes.
I was trying not to say that, but my brain took
With
me there
that,
anyway.
with that as our segue, we open on Knuckles, who Jay has defined already, gliding through the sky over North Dakota, running down an escaped prisoner and just casting Teleport 16 on him so he goes back to jail. This is supposed to be like a vestigial fun in games opener where we learn about our cool, awesome protagonist and all the fun things he can do. Only in this situation, Knuckles canonically has no emotions whatsoever. It is weird that his name is Knuckles and later on there will be a character named Speed, but I believe in my heart of hearts, not knowing one way or the other, that this is just a complete coincidence, and like Ulillillia doesn't have any opinions about the Sonic the Hedgehog franchise.
There's no way that that's true. There's no way that that's
well, you
true.
hear about his love of like Bubsy. He likes Bubsy the cat. So like, would he have
Bubsy
been
glides,
exposed
so
to?
okay.
So I don't know. I don't know. Knuckles can sense the future. You could call him like an augur or a soothsayer or
An
a
oracle.
fortune teller, an oracle. I forgot all the words. I can't tell if he can like see the future in and of itself, or he can just like be really good at like predicting, I don't know, seismic activities or whatever. But he always like dryly states how long the plot is going to pass diegetically with no sense of urgency from this countdown. He's just like, oh, by the way, it's about 15 hours until Doomsday.
Which would be funny in a different framing.
Yeah, it would be. It would be. But yeah, I think this book's biggest problem is it doesn't know how funny it is.
Yeah. Because like immediately after teleporting that military prisoner back into prison, he flies to a middle school and leaves a note on a kid's desk. That kid turns out to be Ivan. And he's like,
yes,
please meet with me. But Ivan doesn't know who the note is from, so he goes to the front office and the front office worker who he shows the note to is like, how would I know who this Knuckles is unless perchance you speak of the world famous Knuckles of whom we are all aware? And Ivan is like, well, that seems unlikely. And he leaves.
And whom I have seen with mine own eyeballs out the window just now. So while Knuckles is walking around in this middle school, he's looking for like clues about this monster level event that's about to happen that he's coming to like prevent, but he doesn't like try to get the school evacuated or whatever. I don't know. Anyways, he notices this banner for a party that's going to occur tonight, and it's like bring $3 for pizza and soda. And he's like, wow, that sounds really affordable. I'll be there. He's 300 years old.
And he can make infinite money. And he can
make infinite money.
He's like, how thrifty.
So we cut into Ivan and 2, like Jay had been alluding to, and we just kind of get their one personality trait each that, despite being their one personality trait each, never really comes up.
Barely ever.
Not that I'm mad about that. Ivan is the sporty one, 2 is the science nerd. Neither of this is going to affect their dialogue because everyone kind of talks the same. So the relationship these kids had to Knuckles before the events of the book are also really unclear to me and probably non-existent since, like Ivan was like, who is Knuckles?
Yeah, it seems like he just is an extant entity in their world and they don't really care or know him.
Right. Knuckles ends up at the kickball field or whatever it is, where there's a red sphere of fire that bursts from the ground. This is our first like magical turn-based RPG combat, complete with these way too detailed stat sheets that are just just slapped in the middle of the text, and you try to like piece it all together, but it's just noise. It's just noise. This is a lavalent. Knuckles has never seen one before, but it's super powerful. It's got 5,781,372 HP. But Knuckles is comically powerful, so he just destroys it, and then everything returns to normal. He's like, well, that was kind of weird, but not as weird as what's about to happen in like 2 days.
It's literally just an orb, too. Like, he keeps referring to it as a monster, and he will continue to refer to all of the things we're going to encounter as monsters, but they are all just spheres without fail.
Yeah, default blender. Yeah.
They're just assets. Like, okay. I feel like it's a bit of a stretch to call them monsters. Like, I get that if it was a video game, they would fit under the classification of monster. But it feels like when there are no other monsters, it doesn't really work anymore somehow.
It's a creature, technically, I suppose.
It is a creature.
Writing points for you there. Knuckles goes to Ivan's house and gives him, $5, 3 for admission and 2 for sodas, just in case he gets thirsty.
Yeah, in case he's parched.
Knuckles, who has all the money ever because he clones jewel-laden tables or whatever the fuck. He's like, $5, kid, don't overindulge. And then 2 is apparently also at Ivan's house with him, and she gets $1 because she already had $4, and we don't want 2 to get more money. So he goes to this middle school party with these 2 kids, and he is explaining to them that the lavalent is connected with this seismic activity off the coast of Puerto Rico. And he's like, hey guys, you want to come with me on my magical adventure? I'll take you somewhere else. And the kids are like, yeah, sure, this sounds great. Guy I just met, who's internationally famous, I guess, but still.
Yeah, he like contracts.
It's like sold to One Direction.
We are about to learn that he contracts with like the US government and with CNN, and yet people just let him go to this middle school event. Like, none of the administrators remark upon it. None of the kids there say anything.
No.
He's okay. And then he just kidnaps these children.
I think to his credit, I think canonically, if it's a Friday party and it takes 2 days for the Doomsday event to happen, then technically they weren't taken out of school, but still. But before they do that, they have to win the raffle to get 2 tickets of free pizza because Knuckles can use his magical powers to like cheat.
Yeah, and make sure that 2 and Ivan win the raffle. There was one more detail, maybe you're about to say it, but there's one more thing that happens at that party, because when Knuckles is like, come with me to this magical adventure, the kids are like, well, we do want to go, but we're nervous. And then Knuckles says the completely tension annihilating, oh, well, I can resurrect you with my magic if you die.
Yeah.
And they're both like, oh, okay, sounds good then. Let's go with you.
Right, yeah. I mean, if some guy could bring me back to life, I'd trust him. Yeah, Knuckles abducts these 2 children and brings them to his windowless, pitch black, perfectly rectangular concrete house, which is completely barren except for a bar stool and 2 beds. One has themed bed sheets with like beakers and measuring kits and like science things, and then the other one has an aerial view of Minot, North Dakota, where they're supposed to be from, and Knuckles is just like, sleep, children, I'm gonna go study some seismic waves that I've been receiving.
And they just do. Like, they just get into their beds like NPCs and fall asleep. I literally wrote in my summary that Knuckles has the house of a serial killer.
It's really scary. He doesn't need light to see, so there's no light. He has to like use a magic spell to illuminate that thing. It's like, come with me to my concrete box. Oh, and there's no indoor plumbing. He just summons whatever food he needs. So anyways, Knuckles figures out that the next events are going to happen on a plane to Puerto Rico, and this one specific flight that he needs to get on. But before he can do that, he's got to wake up the kids, and he summons like French toast in the shape of a rectangle or a very specifically shaped French toast, pentagon shaped French toasts, and Ivan wants
A waffle in the shape of a VHS, I think, like a cassette tape.
a waffle in the shape of a VHS, but smaller. And obviously not the same proportions or whatever he says, which would just be a rectangular waffle. So I don't understand that. Anyways, they get on the plane just as an earthquake starts. So Knuckles uses his magical powers to like teleport fuel onto the plane and then get them clearance and then I guess teleport them also into the sky and just forces them to take off basically.
This confused me to your point about not fully understanding how Knuckles' premonitions work, because it kind of seemed like in this scene the earthquake was interrupting the plane from taking off, and he knew that the plane had to be the event, or had to be the location where the event he sensed took place. So therefore, he teleported the plane into the air to make his own vision come true. Did you read it
it's
that
kind
way?
of a self-fulfilling prophecy. I didn't, but now that you mention it, I think there's something to that.
It's like, well, if you have infinite power, then you can just make all your visions come true, because you can just do whatever you need to the world to make it so that you were always right.
The slab that just replaced the previous becomes a fireball headed east and slightly downward. A blue 6.20077E19 pops out and another one comes. After a half-second pause, it too becomes a fireball heading south, going through the ceiling a foot before hitting the wall. The hard-to-see outside sky is black. A red 2.7427E19 pops out and another slab appears. A half second after the humans hit bottom, Ivan walks in the liquid at 5 inches per second. The others follow a second later, but at 4 inches per second. They walk away from the entrance, watching Speed and Knuckles. Ivan tries swimming but can't get in the right direction. He tries treading it like water for 4 seconds, but doesn't rise as he can't do it fast enough. So it appears he finally used his peanut brain. How many of these are there?
Since my reaction time is instantaneous, you bust these while I get under...
I can't. It's too hard to do. God. I'll try again. Okay.
Since my reaction time is instantaneous, you bust these while I get under one to see what's going on.
Right. Ready? Knuckles punches the slab a second later. Speed appears under it as another slab comes down on top of him. Speed holds it up. Anything?
I saw another one, the one I'm holding. Try again.
Knuckles punches the slab Speed holds up. Anything yet?
Same thing. Keep busting more repeatedly.
Knuckles busts once every half second.
Good for Knuckles. Good for
Knuckles. I guess Grim and Knuckles are in the same ability class.
Yeah, refractory period off.
So another lava lint rises from the ground, and Knuckles captures it in this weird floating sky cage thing. This one is a master lava lint, and it appears friendly until it just seems to kind of jitter and randomly decide to kill Knuckles. Knuckles defeats it with ease because he can do literally everything with no repercussions. But there's this other, like, evil presence that he can't see, but he can sense with his, like, magical powers or whatever. The plane lands safely in Puerto Rico, and Knuckles gives the pilot $100 for his trouble. $250. He's like, don't spend it all in one place.
Very generous of him.
Yeah, $5 for kids, $100 for pilots. I think that was like what wages were in the 70s or whatever. So Knuckles goes on TV, on CNN, to basically just recount the events of what we just read and tells people not to fight any of the monsters that are going to be appearing off the coast of Puerto Rico. There's like some seismic activity that's threatening them or whatever. But he can't worry about that because he's got to go to Hawaii. So there's a lot of like...
Did you mention that he stored the Master Lava Lent in his like chest dimension
No!
after he defeated it?
No, I didn't. I foolishly forgot that crucial detail. So it's like the lion in Steven Universe.
It's the lion from Steven Universe.
Yeah, he just like puts it into his chest, but it's like supposed to be like this really large orb of a creature. So I don't know how it's supposed to fit into his canonically 4-inch wide chest or whatever it is. So there's what's probably supposed to be an exciting like training montage where Knuckles gives the kids ability to fly, but it's completely ruined by these obtuse, weird rules that Knuckles tries to teach them.
Yeah, tell me about the tilting and the listing and the
swerving. Oh no, that's not even the part that bothers me. What bothers me is I've put the ability in these marbles. All you need to do to receive the ability is just touch them with me and remain touching them until I move my hand away. If you let go, the ability can still be transferred, though there is a 10-second time limit where, afterwards, the abilities are lost for good and I'll have to relearn them, which can take days. I have a special ability that prevents transfer to anything evil, so that evil presence can't get them, nor will it affect the transfer if it gets involved. Did you keep track of all of that? Because that's going to be very important.
Basically what you said was because Knuckles is all-powerful, there is zero chance that anything interesting might happen, and that there are no stakes and nothing is at risk.
So you have to hold it to him and then take it back, but then if you try to use it, there's a 10-second, but only if you're not evil. So whatever. They like have this gliding montage. Ivan learns how to fly or glide in a unique way, which impresses Knuckles with his physical and magical abilities, but this never really gets used, so don't worry about it. He like wants to go to space or something, like he's Icarus from Crown of Starlight.
Who?
You're right. Because it's time for another stupid magic sphere. This one is the Master Lockwillant, who specifically doesn't want to fight them until the evil force commands it to under threat of violence. And it kills Ivan and two, like whacks them with a tsunami, and they fall dead like rag dolls, I think the book says. So these freaking middle schoolers just got annihilated.
He murked them. I can only imagine that they like did a little taking damage animation and then just fell flat on their faces. And probably the camera was like slightly rotating around them when that happened, like in I don't know, Final Fantasy X or something.
Yeah.
I'm imagining it's from that era somehow. Like that's
sure.
the graphics that we're at.
I think that makes sense. Just yeah, so Knuckles can do anything and everything, so he just casts Life Cure on them, and they come back just fine. They don't say anything about the dinosaurs or Japanese people that they met. Nothing about Death, the singing, dancing goblin. So
nothing about that.
There is no afterlife, I guess.
Nothing about the racially coded evil vizier of King... what was his name?
Mortis Capers.
Mortis Capers, yeah.
Right. So
nothing about that.
Okay. Don't worry about that. I guess that's our only reference for hell.
Well, okay, something else stood out to me when he brought them back to life, and that's that the animation for the revive spell is an angel, like coming down and like blessing you with sparkles. Just lock that away.
Why does that strike you as anything? You should fear God alone.
It's true. I should fear God alone. I should not be afraid of tight spaces. I should not be afraid of, what was it, the dark?
The dark, heights.
My dad, and heights.
So eventually, somehow, because of Knuckles' immense power, the Lockwillant comes to his senses, and Knuckles is like, here, you'll be safe in my furry breast, and like starts collecting these guys like Pokemon. So this was the one that he collected. The Lavalint he destroyed in the first scene with on the plane. Our heroes go to Nevada, which has some kind of military factory. Yes. I completely didn't understand the connective tissue.
I don't know what that phrase means.
Okay, cool. So I guess it's like the bullet farm. I guess because they have like vats of aluminum over which dangles our tritagonist, or I guess quadratagonist if you count Knuckles, Tyler, who is this 27-year-old man who was going around looking for desert rocks for a study.
Right.
when guards under the possession of the evil force captured him and chained him dangling over a vat of molten aluminum. So they managed to free him, which is great. I don't understand how they got here. And then Knuckles has to fight some flamingos who are...
Yes.
Actually, no, club members, take a second. Just sit back and imagine if you see the word flamingo, flamingo, if you see that word, what you think that creature would look like. Just
Right.
picture it in your head, and then compare it to...
Have you got it?
compare it to a gorilla-shaped ball of blue flame that attacks him. Yeah, Flamingo the gorilla.
Of course.
So it finally gets defeated, which, of course, and Knuckles teleports our heroes, which now includes Tyler, because Tyler wants to hang out with them, these middle schoolers, and a 300-year-old purple alien monkey thing with wizard powers. He's like, this sounds like a great idea. This is better than grad school.
Ooh. Well, hold on. When you put it that way, this makes it a more interesting choice. Is it better than grad school? We'll come back to that, I suppose.
So where they're at in Australia, there happens to be some kind of like athletic race triathlon thing going on.
Yeah, and Knuckles like has to do a whole scene. Like it takes up so much page space where he's like, I need to go tell the race authority that they need to stop, and he explains how he's going to do that. And then he goes and does it, and it just repeats everything, except this time he's actually saying it to the people running the race.
Right.
And he's like, I need you to wait for 10 minutes, and then you can actually have the race. But in the meantime, a creature is going to attack, and you can have the race after it attacks, but first I need to fight and defeat the creature. And then the creature appears, and he's like, oh no, the creature. And he fights and defeats it. And then he's like, I have fought and defeated the creature. Now you may resume the race.
Yeah. That's exactly what happens. But it's important. It's important that we know that there's 153 monsters exactly that are involved here. Hold on. I want to read out the breakdown because it's very important.
I can only imagine that they burst out of the ground like the way that the boos in the first Luigi's Mansion like burst out of that one chamber early in the game. Especially because all the monsters are spherical, so...
Right. There are 17 Lavalents, 20 Localents, 16 Lampalents, 21 Laracolents, 19 Lachemalents, not Lamech from One Man of Destiny, 22 Lairlents, 17 Lalitalents, and 21 Lagravelents, which burst out from the ground everywhere at 70 miles per hour, no closer than 1 foot to anyone.
I might as well say this now, but what is the point of it being 70 miles per hour?
Don't know.
Specifically, because, okay, I understand that in theory, specificity is good, right? In fiction, as in poetry. However, I guarantee you, Nick, that you cannot picture what 153 orbs going at 70 miles per hour, no less than a foot away from anybody in this area actually looks like. You're not actually picturing that, and neither is anyone reading this. It's too specific. No one knows what that means. What is the goal behind giving it that particular number, and why even give it a number in the first place? It just doesn't make any sense.
I think it's the particularity, you know, the need to be as accurate as possible, which...
But it's actually so accurate that it becomes inaccurate.
No.
Like, I'm not arguing with you. I'm sort of like shadow boxing with the Phantom of Nick right now, but it's like you think you're imagining 153 things moving at 70 miles per hour, but you actually don't know what that looks like. No one knows what that looks like. It doesn't make any sense to imagine it.
Right.
It's pointless.
Yeah, it's really pointless. Which I'm glad that I spent the time and you listened to me as we described all the different numbers of the different Lavalents, because they get one-shotted by Knuckles in the very next turn.
Exactly.
So, great.
Then they go to India.
They go to India because Lilaquilent told Knuckles about this lead. So they're hoping to protect one from the mind control before the evil force can intervene. So they just get the one there in India. Then they go to Mount Everest and find 2 more. The evil force starts to get clever about Knuckles just being able to teleport everywhere. And I'm like, oh, this is an interesting counter. These 2 highly advanced magical creatures. And then Knuckles casts teleport blocker remove 69 420 or whatever, and then he's like, okay, now we can teleport, just doing nothing but wasting 4 lines.
It's literally just like, I have an everything proof shield. Well, I have an everything proof shield destroying spell. Well, I have a spell that cancels the everything proof shield destroying spell.
Right. They save Master Laralint without any event, but then they are attacked by Master Lacalint, who's the ice guy. So he gets described in a way that I thought was kind of interesting. I don't know if you noticed this, but he is born from an endless sheet of clear ice resembling Jupiter's Europa. Why that specifically? I don't know. I don't know if there's anything like particularly interesting about Europa's ice other than other like forms of ice, but I just thought that was funny. Thinking like, what's the first thing I associate with ice? I thought it would be like, there something would happen in space, but no. But then it and the evil force, they disappear and they taunt our heroes to go to Amazonia, which is some city in Brazil that they have to go to now. So now there's this continent off the coast of Florida called Atlantis, and it's just full of monsters.
And Knuckles goes on CNN and is like, hey, everybody, don't go near Atlantis because it's full of monsters, and if you get within X distance of it, you'll just get nuked by their attacks.
Because everyone listens to CNN. It's the most trusted news source. Everyone, it's just no problem.
No problem at all. So Knuckles is like trying to figure out the best way to proceed, and during that time they have an Uno fun and games montage in his featureless house where he creates like a new bed for Tyler to sleep in, and then he creates like a card table and gives them a pack of cards and is like, now you guys play Uno while I stare at these waveforms for hours and hours. I think it's like a full day or something like that.
Yeah, and
oh my god.
And Tyler's bed sheets are themed like the Grand Canyon, even though he's 27 years old.
And he was looking for rocks in Nevada, right?
Yeah. So he's the rock guy.
Okay, yeah.
So while they're doing this, Ivan comes up to him like a 4-year-old, and he's like, tell me your life story. And Knuckles just gives his whole life story, which he does. He's just this guy who really likes leveling up, and he's fought in wars and invasions, and he knew a guy named Speed. It's especially insane since this is like 50% through the book, and we're getting stuff like this after Ivan has been adventuring with this guy and literally died because of him at least once already.
Yeah, the Speed is like, he looks kind of like Knuckles, but like not quite, and he has a similar power set, except also he's fast, and he's like kind of a rival, but also kind of a friend. This might be ringing bells for some of you out there. You know who you are.
Yeah, Bubsy fans. So yeah, Knuckles just kind of came to Earth to like level up more and farm EXP, and his first encounter was with the police who arrested him for jaywalking. I'd love to have that scene described to me, because like, how do you see a 4-foot tall purple alien with large hands and fur walking, and your first instinct is, hey, let's arrest this asshole for jaywalking, and not like, that's an alien.
That's an alien. What is that creature?
What is that? But now he like works for the government in this like Batman-esque like vigilante way.
You know what I was imagining Knuckles as looking like as the plot went on, and Speed as well. Do you remember the cell phone company Singular? They don't exist anymore, but their logo was like this orange X with a little dot over it, so kind of like a little guy with like his arms and legs spread out. And sometimes in commercials, like, they would like even animate it as like a little person, and that's kind of what I was imagining Knuckles looking like, because the way that the edges of the X like bulge out into like hand-like things.
Yeah, okay.
I don't know, for some reason I wasn't imagining him as having a face, even though it does describe his face a little bit at the beginning. But it feels like he's made out of like rubber somehow, and like he's just sort of a little blob.
I totally thought he was just like a generic thing, like a cheaple in a Valve game with lower texture, so they can be rendered with less draw on the CPU.
Right.
So while this texture missing entity is studying waveforms, literally 23 hours pass of them just playing Uno and Yahtzee, and I think some of them they make a Lego Eiffel Tower. It's they read books, and
they eat snacks,
right? Human activities done by normal humans. There's this point in Knuckles' narration about doing research when the humans don't need anything, which by its phrasing makes it sound like the kids and the 27-year-old man are just like ordering him around like a maid, which is impeding his research mission because they're just dicks. But I don't think that was the intent. It was just something in the syntax that made that jump out at me. But suddenly
he realizes
something tragic happens. He can't sense Brazil.
It's Brazil. No. Where did Brazil go? Oh my god.
Guys, for the first time I felt Brazil's absence.
As if thousands of souls cried out and were silenced. Don't at me about misquoting Star Wars fans. I know that you're listening to this. I don't care.
It's like what Toadvine says about the voice of God in Blood Meridian. Yeah, how do you know when it stops talking to you? When it stops, you'll know it because you've been feeling it your whole life. So it's just like Brazil.
That is what Brazil feels like to me.
So, a magic mysterious portal appears where this voice is like, "Hey Knuckles, this is totally not a trap. You can definitely trust me. Walk into this portal, buddy. I'm not going to hurt you." Like it's so weird and obviously a trap.
It's so trap coded.
Right, it's a trap coded. And then he walks through and it turns out that no, it's not a trap. He wasn't lying. He was that string of suspicious excuses was completely benign. But the evil force is there, but the voice, he's like, "You've been kicked out. You got to get out of here, Seth." And this reveals that the evil force's name is the most evil name of all, Seth.
I actually thought that was kind of an interesting pull because, like, Seth is one way of transliterating the name of the Egyptian god of evil, Set.
Yeah.
So I was like, maybe this is intentional. And maybe it is. He will in no way resemble the Egyptian deity. His power set will not resemble it either. But it's possible the connection is there, I guess.
The name Seth was kind of scary to me for a while because there was this old show called A Haunting where there was supposed to be like found footage or like recreations and they were terrible, but I thought they were so scary. There was a demon named Seth. So maybe Nick Smith also saw that episode of A Haunting. So
very
possible. I don't know. So the portal leads to the futuristic city of Amazonia, and we meet Steve.
They are approached by okay, so hold on. Imagine this, guys. Imagine if this sounds familiar at all. They step through a magic portal into a new world with a sort of different technology, different aesthetic, and the first guy they meet says, "I am Steve."
So that's kind of crazy. Maybe the directors of the Minecraft movie were big Ulillillia fans.
I'm just saying it's impossible to disprove it, that's all.
It's impossible to disprove it. I love not being able to prove a negative. So Steve is the second in command, so like the vice president or the second king of this city-state Amazonia. I don't understand it.
I think that we have a contender for world's second shittiest polis. If I'm being honest.
I don't know.
Illia's kind of scuffed, but the layout of Amazonia, based on what we see in the script, is really, really horrendous. It's like concentric circles, where each circle or ring represents like a different part of society. So like one ring is all the government buildings, one ring is all the shops, one ring is all the housing, and they have teleporters, so like it doesn't have to be sensibly connected, but just like, why would you ever build it like this? How did this come to be?
They got Braden Strangered. This is what's going to happen to your town after Braden Stranger gets his hands on it.
He's gonna make it a 15-minute city where you can't leave the concentric ring.
So they teleport to the Amazonia library, where Steve pulls up a futuristic Wikipedia article about Seth King, who is our antagonist. And we get this huge expo dump. Hold on, I'll actually read some of it to you. Seth King is a master criminal of Amazonia. Sentenced to death, he was recently kicked out for his crimes. It is believed that he is looking for a way to get back into Amazonia, but it is unconfirmed.
It is unconfirmed.
It is unconfirmed.
Even it hasn't been confirmed.
He soon found a way to prevent the anti-crime device from working, which worried Amazonia's highest levels of authority. By age 35, both his immunity to the anti-crime device and his high power gained in the fighting arenas were used for criminal acts. Over the next 4 years, his bad acts escalated to an extreme, causing terror and fear among Amazonia's residents. He sometimes was seen in the library, but everywhere he went, he caused destruction and mayhem. He was in the library sometimes.
I'm so interested in these like anti-crime devices that get mentioned here, and I think only here. Do they live in the Psycho-Pass world?
Right.
First of all, has anybody seen Psycho-Pass? And second of all, do they live in Psycho-Pass?
After getting ejected from Amazonia, some say that he began to execute one of his grand plans, that of using the legendary Masters of the Elements as a way to get back inside the city. He continued causing problems to our city, and we thought of going back into the past to take another route of events, but strangely, he followed us everywhere he went. We soon heard of an alien on Earth from Corona that seemed to be the right stuff, but he was around May 29th, 1999. The city agreed to go that time and wait for Knuckles, but attempted to hide from Seth as much as possible. As of today, we do not know what his plans are, but they likely involve using the legendary Masters of the Elements as a way to get in or destroy another hypercity, like Amazonia. And it lists all the phrases in that Wikipedia article that are hyperlinked. So basically, he's, I don't know what he is. It's kind of Coriolanus. You know, he was expelled from the city and then came back to conquer.
Yeah.
I'm sure that's what was being invoked here.
I'm certain that they were thinking of Coriolanus, yeah.
Yeah. So basically, none of this matters. I just wanted to show you just the tsunamis of text that we get exposed to. But it does matter that he's trying to use the elemental masters to return to the city by force, whatever. So now, armed with vital information about their enemy, Knuckles and the humans decide to go have fun. Tyler, the 27-year-old man, Tu and Ivan, the middle schoolers, they go to play volleyball. Knuckles goes off to fight Seth King's like pet dragon, which apparently is just still around in the fighting pits.
They weren't able to kill it, right? So they just decided to incorporate it into their like anime tournament arc gauntlet that anybody can participate in at any time.
Right. Of course. But before he can fight the dragon, Knuckles has to fight this gauntlet of magic users in this underground cage match where he faces off against the Silver Savior, Peyton Gray. It's just, it's like Sandy and Craig and Josh. It's like these like completely guy who grew up in North Dakota nomenclature. So
Yeah, we're in Amazonia, the future city that has traveled back in time to flee from and or pursue Seth King, and everybody's named Craig. I guess it's come back around in the future.
I guess, it's like Duncan, Idaho in Dune. That was a stupid name.
It's like fashion.
We shift to Steve and Ivan playing volleyball in a simulator, and Tyler and Tu end up running around in an underwater city, which is less than as interesting as it sounds. They just kind of run around and they're like, this place is underwater. So back on Knuckles. He's fighting this gauntlet, it's going. He's obviously obliterating everyone. They like summon different critters. He's not actually like killing anyone, I don't think. He's just fighting them with magic. Then we cycle back to the humans and it's all terrible. There's a theme park and the volleyball game gets really intense and Tyler and Tu go to a lake. But it's okay because then there's a cracking noise like glass breaking that reverberates through the city. Knuckles, who's still doing his gladiatorial arena thing, senses that the glass dome is reaching its breaking point. This is very Rin Tung and Dorner, by the way, where like he's the protector of the dome. So the city is going to explode in seconds. Oh, this was a weird fun and games montage, but they're going to pull it together and actually do something. But no, Knuckles just alerts the proper authorities and then continues his gladiator fight without anything being done about the city blowing up.
And the people of the underwater city of Janet are evacuated. Is that right? Does he just teleport them out, or do we even know?
I don't think we know. They might get mentioned, and I know there are Janetians that come back.
Right.
Then they go to Knuckles' house, back to where they came from, and play some more Uno. The next Elemental Master is in the Pyramids of Giza in Egypt, but there's a teleport barrier. Oh no! Knuckles casts teleport barrier, remove 20 million, and it's so annoying to just present a problem and have Knuckles just have the everything proof shield in every point. It gets to the point where it's just not even funny.
It's not, and the spells are so stupidly specific. Like, we start out with like, oh, there's like fire and there's ice, and then Knuckles has a special move called Ultimara, which sounds like a JRPG type of name. But then we get to this point in the story, and Knuckles literally has spells that are like teleport, barrier, cancel 23, and it's like, it doesn't even have a fun name, like barrier rend or something like that. It's just like, it's so literal.
Right. So they go to Egypt, and they free Lavalent, my boy Lavalent, who was killed on the plane. I guess he respawns in Egypt because that's the birth of fire spheres. And
he's the Aten.
Yeah, what you said. The next one is in a small village in Zimbabwe. Literally just said a small village in Zimbabwe, nothing specific. But Knuckles goes there, just goes to a small village, and then they find Master Lakimalent.
Yeah.
Which, I think chemical's a funny element name. I wouldn't consider chemicals an element even classically, but...
Either. I would actually stray away from using the word chemicals in a story where I have elemental masters, because it feels like mixing nomenclatures. Like, it starts causing you to ask questions about like what counts as a chemical.
Right.
If there's also like a water elemental, because like water's, I mean, not to get all too on you, but water is like a it's kind of a chemical. It's like a combination of molecules that are bonded together.
Bonded.
It's like, I don't know. All right, I would have maybe just gone with like acid or something. That seems more RPG
poison
coded. Yeah, poison.
Yeah, so they save Lakimalent in a scene completely devoid of conflict. Ditto for Lalampolint in Lagos, Nigeria. But Lalampolint is nowhere to be found. So then they go to Atlantis, and then they find Master Lilidolent, who's, off the Florida coast, which is everyone knows where Atlantis is. They block possession. He has possession blocker, so now if Seth doesn't get to him first, he can't possess him forever now. Apparently, Master Legravelent is there too, but they were waylaid in their search by Seth King, who appears. He says something about, like, come to my opulent house and meet the other master elemental spheres or whatever, and they do, but before they do that, it's time for a pizza break.
Right, okay.
Because Chekhov's pizza coupon has to pay off, and this is the perfect time to do it. They teach you this is called the calm before the storm in fiction telling.
Right, yeah. We need to have like a low intensity moment in order to heighten the final battle by contrast. And this is the most logical place to have that, I think, right after they've been told exactly where they need to go and what to do. It makes absolute sense to just like stop everything and go have pizza at Domino's.
So much fucking time is spent with them deliberating what sodas to get, whether they're a Coke or Pepsi establishment, what toppings to get, what configuration to get the toppings of, and the ratio of the entire pizza.
Knuckles is very concerned that everybody only gets the toppings that they want, so he interjects to make sure that, like, okay, well, you only want this, so you can actually have, like, a third of Tyler's pizza, and then it'll work out.
So this is like in Act 3, like, this is before the big thing is gonna happen. But it's not all boring, though, because there are cars in the parking lot that get lifted up and stacked on top of each other, but Knuckles just moves them back with car rearrange 901 and then just restores everything. This is surely the work of Seth King, who's just incorporeally taunting them out of childish pettiness.
You'll never be able to move my cars back.
I'll get you, you idiot pink rodent, or whatever he says. Then robbers enter, but Knuckles teleports them directly to jail.
Puts them in jail
without
no
trial.
It just says 2 robbers wearing ski masks and gloves enter the store armed with metallic baseball bats. They demand cash from the cash register using a typewritten note. At this moment, Knuckles casts glue on them and they become statues. A gray, one immobilized pops out. Half a second later, a green immobilized and charmed pops out. Knuckles casts teleport and they disappear before moving.
Yeah, so that happens, and then the waitress falls dead from cardiac arrest. But Knuckles,
a gray 3 cardiac arrest pops out of the waitress. Knuckles says, "Stop it, Seth King," and he casts Heal 11 on the fallen waitress. A briefcase-like first aid kit, 18 inches long by 12 inches tall by 3 inches deep, fades in over the waiter in half a second. When the spell's effects start, a green cardiac arrest and flu pop out of the waiter, and he gets up as if nothing happened. Knuckles casts Cure on the waiter, and a green 257 pops out. Then Knuckles says, "You aren't going to fool me, Seth King." And then Seth King says, incorporeally, "That does it. I'll add a trap you'll just be in love with. 3, actually. Goodbye forever. Ha ha ha."
The humans are just eating their pizza while all of this is happening. And when they're full, there's some leftovers. And when asked if they want a box, Knuckles is like, "No, they don't need a box," and disappears the leftovers, which kind of incensed me for some reason. I don't know why that pissed me off more than anything else.
It feels rude. It's like, I don't know.
I might have wanted
It weirdly
the
interferes with their agency.
Yeah, it's a kind of weird. I gave you your pizza, I could take it away. Then they go back to the scary rectangular house, and Knuckles summons Speed, his old companion from the war, to ask for his help in fighting Seth King, and Speed is just like, "Yeah, sure, whatever." With no further information needed, he's just like, "Yeah, let's go fight this guy." I need me someone like that.
A ride or die.
Then they approach the Death House, which is actually a shack in Atlantis, which is, I don't remember if this is Seth's house or like the castle that'll come later is what he meant, but like
they call this Seth's house earlier,
right?
Because they've been thinking about going there, but they've been afraid of all the traps that it allegedly contains. I mean, it does contain. But they refer to it as, like, his house in the future.
Right. So Seth's little comment about it being very opulent was, like, a joke?
I think so.
Okay, I guess that makes sense. Anyways, I don't know why that bothered me, too. But during this tense infiltration, Ivan is, like, pulling at the hem of Knuckles' shirt and being like, "How did you gain magical abilities? How did you get so strong?" And Knuckles is like, "Don't worry. I'll make you guys learn some spells after this. You can have some more marbles." Which is so weird because we neglected to mention that one of his only stated goals before, like, the conflict struck was to teach humans how to use magic more. Like, for some reason, that's just, like, his ideal pet project. And he always acts like he forgets about it because it's an inconvenience. But
right, like it's irritating that he has to think about this thing that he imposed on himself.
It's his idea, yeah. So Seth appears and makes a couple of non-elemental monsters fight them, which is obviously they were all one-shotted. Seth then summons a literal actual demon from hell, Skyshade style, and then Knuckles and Speed kill it. You can kind of detect a certain issue that plagues this book by now.
Yes.
things get really nebulous here and time travel-y, but there's some kind of like quicksand like liquid which Knuckles and Speed deal with by busting and spreading dust. I don't understand what's going on.
Knowing that some of this book was dream inspired, this definitely struck me as dream logic world a little bit. Like everything in this house like kind of stops making spatial sense. Like there's this quicksand, and then they get trapped in some kind of chamber where the walls turn into fireballs and like shoot at them and then replace themselves before they can leave, I think.
Yes.
Okay.
Something like that. So they manage to escape, but plot twist, they're in Seth King's realm in the future. So Knuckles had also been foreseeing this big evil event 1800 years into the future on top of like the other stuff that was going on or something like that. So this is like a cursed dark evil future in which Seth King like rules the world and presides over the human race in a castle on Mount Olympus. Like this is just like bad ending world, I guess.
Yeah. This is the future in Sonic CD if you don't destroy the projectors with Metal Sonic and bring about a good future.
Of course, everyone's favorite game, Metal Sonic Adventure. So Lilitalent gives the team super speed, which of course Sonic doesn't need, and they talk so much about why Speed doesn't need. Oh, geez,
I was just gonna let you say it
there. Oh, yikes! Which Speed doesn't need. Weird that I came up with that poll, but it also doesn't matter because they have like this floating platform that just takes them to Greece. I don't know why they needed super speed. The castle on Mount Olympus is so fucking cool. I wish this is what the castle looked like in Powerless, because it's got...
I also have it pulled up.
It's got a lava moat, like all of these turrets, and out front is a big sign that says, "Do not enter." In English.
I love that it is a, quote, medieval style dark red-orange brick castle. 800. Okay, first of all, medieval style and brick, that doesn't really work. It has 4 watchtowers, parentheses, where guards would stand, 130 feet high. It has a 12-foot high door that looks like the bottom of a drawbridge with a large "Do Not Enter" sign on it, but it has no windows or openings, so chew on that one.
I don't understand. By the time they enter, Speed has already gone through this dungeon 15 times. He's like, "Guys, I've been through this already. There is no tension because now I know where all the traps are." And then Knuckles gives all the humans the spells that he promised them in the form of these tiny little marbles that just are normal marbles that he's enchanted to have magic transferring abilities. We get this mini spell casting tutorial, but it proves a little bit too hard for them, and Knuckles is just like, "I'll cast Memory Alter so that you remember that you got trained on magic." They reach the throne room after fighting some evil enemies and overcoming some traps, and then they find out that Seth is immune to the Ultimara like spatial rend attack. As they fight, they reveal Seth's tragic villain backstory. He wanted to be the mayor, but he lost in the election, and it made him... And he made him want to kill everybody and do a lot of crime. And then the 99.94 of all the residents in Amazonia voted to sentence him to death.
But instead he was just exiled for reasons.
He wanted to be the mayor so bad.
Mayor is such like a child leadership position, you know what I'm saying? Like he wanted to be the mayor, like of J.A. Biztown or something like that.
Right.
Like it's not I don't know.
If you're a mayor, you need to grow the fuck up. Like get over it. You're
That's
such a child.
Saying. Get over yourself, mayor.
They one-shot or two-shot Seth He's weak to light attacks because he's pure evil, and he just fucking explodes. He explodes into a billion pieces, and the world just becomes beautiful again. All of the evil monsters go away, and the eternal night is lifted, or whatever.
It's like when they destroy the Lich or whatever in the Black Cauldron.
Yeah, it's like destroying a lich. Sure. So with that over, our heroes return to their stupid house. Knuckles asks Lavalent how to enter, like, the elemental world.
Each elemental master comes from a parallel Earth where... God, I wish I could remember the exact phrase, but I'm not going to look for it. But it's basically like they come from the world where if Earth was made of their element.
Right.
Which is like... I know this is annoying. I mean it sincerely. In what way would that be Earth then? In what way is Master Lampalent's world Earth but electric? Because if it's electric, it's not Earth. If the Earth was made of electricity, if it was a sphere of electricity, then it would also just be a Lampalent. Because that's what they are.
Well, that's recursive. It goes all the way. That's recursive in a way that this book is really going to appreciate.
It's Lampalents all the way down.
Right. To get to these elemental worlds, you need to holler the magic words. Holler. Sick. Which is like...
That's like a Nova's playlist ass word.
Yeah. You got a yodelay-hoo. Like, I don't get it.
Sweet.
Knuckles returns each elemental master to its home dimension and says, like, a parting word or whatever. And then it turns out that Seth King has killed the master Ladarkalent to harness his magic powers, which is why he's evil. But Master Ladarkalent isn't a bad guy, even though he's like the shadow version. And the narrative really wants you to know this for some reason. I don't know why. Like, I don't know why we would have thought that he was a bad guy, or if like any crimes were attributed to Master Ladarkalent, but it's very defensive of him.
I guess it's because everywhere else that there's been like a character sheet that has a pure dark elemental affinity, they've also been evil. So like, I guess it's trying to say that like that's not necessarily one and the same.
A good guy, right?
Maybe.
Who knows? And Speed returns to his home planet. He flies away. So the core group returns to Amazonia, where thousands of people cheer for them. Knuckles uses his magic powers to project a 4-hour movie of his adventures using his memories, and everyone's completely down for this. They all sit there and watch, and it's like what they watch is Knuckles' memories, which is just the book that we've read, which is also the movie. It's like the thoughts are coming from inside of your head. Get out of your head. Get out of your head. So, and then the book ends with Where Are They Now? Which we'll just have a dramatic reading of, because it doesn't matter, because none of these characters developed, and they never had any character to
They're not
begin
even
with.
characters, really.
So, that's basically the legend of the 10 elemental masters. It is just blow after blow after blow of the most insane detail that I never thought I would ever get from the written word.
It's just a sequence of events.
Good, Jay. You haven't lost your prose touch at all.
No.
You really know what a plot is, buddy.
I got it. I mean, I don't know how else to describe it. Like, they don't really escalate. I mean, I guess nominally they do.
Right.
It's like it resembles a story. You can tell in what ways it was intended to be a narrative.
Okay, so before we go off the deep end, we should probably shift gears and address the big positives of this book.
Let's do it. With my lengthy, battle-prone history now known to them, they ate and began to have almost a full day's worth of fun. If they wanted something, I just used the create spell to get it. Because of my abilities, particularly sensing, I didn't join them nor help them outside simply creating the materials. When they didn't need anything, I was studying sense waveforms in intense detail using the numerous clues I had. I didn't really get far, but all I knew was that house on Atlantis needed a closer inspection as strange energies were coming from it, and soon a very strong strong relationship between it and the main event. I was still stumped about the Amazonia and 1800 years parts though. After nearly a whole day went by, something caught my attention. I struggled to figure out what it was, as for some reason I couldn't sense beyond it. I thought it was another prank by the evil force. That's strange. All of a sudden, I'm not able to sense past where Brazil is. There seems to be some dome-shaped boundary around it. A huge dome-shaped boundary.
I can't sense Brazil.
Where did
Brazil go? They always tell you to come to Brazil, but they never tell you how to find Brazil.
All right, Andrew. I think that is probably the best summary we could have done under the circumstances. Let's talk about some things in this book that were working. What have you got for us?
So as alienating as the prose is at every point in this entire book and how hard it is to read and how dense everything is, it's very consistent in that regard. Eventually, there's like this Clockwork Orange effect, if you've ever read that, where you can start getting the language, or at least knowing what you can skim. You know, your mileage may vary because it draws upon like things that can be understood. Like for Clockwork Orange, like I knew what a droog was going into it, so I had a leg up, and I know what EXP is, so I can get more of the Legends of the 10 Elemental Masters than I would have if I were like I had never played an RPG before.
Yeah, you just like get used to it. Okay, so this is going to sound like a backhanded compliment, but there is a way in which I do legitimately like that it wears its author's like interests and hobbies and passions so clearly on its sleeve. I think that is where a lot of good fiction starts, and that's a pretty basic thing to say, but it is true, and I think it's worth keeping in mind. Like, Nick clearly has a genuine interest in these things, and this is pretty much prototypically how a lot of first attempts at fiction begin. It's like a shame that we see it in this state because it's just not ready to be read.
Yeah.
But like there's ideas there, there's stuff there. He seems consistent, not just in the way that the information is presented, but like in what information he wants to present. Like clearly he has an interest in this like LitRPG style. I almost wonder if he was just like 10 years too early or something. Like I think if he had more prototypes to work off of, just like in the collective unconscious, he might have been more successful in rendering what it is he wanted to render on the page. I think he was sort of grasping about formally, and I don't know if that's fully his fault.
Yeah, you could really characterize this book as peerless. I've been playing a lot of PS2 games recently, and I've noticed as I try to like use muscle memory for the controls or whatever, that it's not what I remember, because around this era was when, you know, all the button mappings were first being like sorted out. So you have one game where your jump button is in R1 and another one where it's in shoot. And by now, a lot of that is more standardized, so you know which buttons are going to be which action. And I think we're in like the PS2 Wild West trying to figure out how these things fit together, because I do think a lot of the elements are just kind of cobbled and then slapped into the page.
Yeah, that's a good analogy, because it does feel like this is coming from a time when there was no like common language for how to describe the things that Nick wants to describe in this novel. And so he does it in the most brute force way imaginable, where he's like, what if the numbers just literally popped up every single time? Another thing that is also similarly brute force in a way that I can appreciate from like analyzing the craft perspective is that it is so stripped down to like the barest elements of fiction. Like, on some level, he clearly realizes that you need to have other characters, and that doesn't really sit happily alongside the fact that Knuckles is completely self-sufficient and can do literally anything.
Yeah.
But the other party members, as it were, have to be there, and so they get to show up in combat scenes and like say a dialogue line a piece, and then just disappear again.
Right.
Literally get sidelined to play Uno. They have to sit at the kids' table at dinner and just keep themselves busy until Knuckles needs them to deliver a line of dialogue again. And I don't know, they're like, from a craft perspective, you can see what forces are in tension there, right? Like on one hand, we have a story where we don't need any other characters, from like a plot escalation perspective, like Knuckles is capable of doing everything that the plot would require, but also it's standard practice, and for good reason, that there's like multiple characters that support the main protagonist. So they also have to be there, but they don't have anything to do then. So I like seeing that in play, because it's like getting to watch somebody learn, and that's kind of neat.
It is neat. It is definitely a neat little time capsule of like an artistic development. Something I liked for kind of like childish reasons were the elemental masters themselves. Something about them being like really friendly and chatty, despite being like globs of energy and like these forces of nature, was really fun. I didn't picture them as being featureless. I kind of had them in my head as like the dirty bubble from SpongeBob, or like that one enemy from Doom, the floating ball, like these demonic kind of monstrous guys that are just like silly little people. I think their personality gave a lot of levity to these scenes.
It does subvert your expectations in kind of a fun way, that they're just like, oh, hey, Knuckles, I don't really want to fight you.
Right.
I like, for English Club reasons, that for 3 bizarre internet personality spawned novels in a row, we have an inexplicable plane disaster scene. I don't know why this keeps happening, but Empress Teresa has one of these. I guess in Nova's playlist there's no plane disaster, but there is like a weird
plane fire
scene on a plane. Yeah. They set a joke fire in somebody's lap, right? Stewardess's dress or something like that.
Set her breeches on fire.
Her breeches, that's right, that's what it was. And then in this one we have earthquake to plane takeoff to mid-air battle with Master Lavalent. So it's like, why did these authors that are similar in so many other ways also keep like setting planes. Scenes on planes?
I guess it's because it's like the most, like, think about the most like normal, isolated or sheltered person, and think about what they think is like the most awesome, adventurous place to be. And it would be like, you know, flying somewhere, or like going somewhere far away. So maybe that's just like the shorthand for like exciting, exotic location. I don't know. I didn't think about that.
It's also sort of precarious, I suppose, like at least in the conception of the average person, like the idea you could just fall out of the air. Especially if somebody starts throwing magic spells around.
Right. Especially if you have a 4-foot tall purple mutant trying to bait a ball of lava to come to your plane, trying to force him to come near you. There's an ineluctable charm to it that I really can't put down. I think a lot of it just comes from the meta text of this guy being one of the more unproblematic internet figures who write and make weird stories on the internet. There's a lot of life to this world. There's a lot of possibilities with all the creatures. You can tell that this is a headspace that Nick really likes to inhabit as he writes. And that honestly accounts for a lot of it, because I really don't have too much else that I think I like about this book.
I really don't either. It's really, really hard to come up with things that are strictly positive to say about it, because so much of it is the same thing over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And so if you don't like it the first time, chances are it's not going to be working any better for you on iteration 288 or whatever. I guess one more thing I can say about it is that I do appreciate the appendices. I think that there's like too many of them. Don't get me wrong. I would not recommend anybody put like 4 or 5 appendices in their book explaining their in-world systems. But I do sort of like that it makes an attempt to make the book more self-sufficient. Like theoretically, anybody that picks this up and wants to understand these units of measurement that continually get implemented in the text, like could flip to the back of the book in the same way that you could flip to a fantasy map in a fantasy book and like understand a little bit more about where we are and what's going on. It means you don't have to put the book down and go to Google and then get distracted by Instagram Reels or something. So I think there's a reading of that that's positive. I know some people are really against appendices, and again, I would not advise including this many, but I understand what was being aimed for.
Yeah, I mean, I'm the kind of person that likes to flip to the map or like the list of the houses like they have in A Song of Ice and Fire, or like the list of like made up words like in Dune. I'm someone who likes to do that, maybe with less numbers, but yeah, I mean the level of thought given to the sheer intensity of detail is just kind of unbelievable. I don't know if it lends any realism to the world. God knows it's very hard to make purple alien wizards very realistic, but I digress. You could tell he thought a lot about it.
You can tell exactly where he was investing the most effort. You know, in poetry, there's a certain school of reader and critic that likes to view poetry primarily as a record of thought. And if this book is not a very clear record of where thought was applied, and by corollary, where it failed to be applied as well, I don't know what else could possibly be conceived of as such a record. So with that, why don't we talk a little bit more about places where perhaps thought was absent? Spells commonly use three terms: spell series, spell level, and spell name. We'll use Fire 3 as an example. The number 3 is the spell level, and the part before it, Fire, is the spell series. The spell series and spell level when put together is the spell name, or commonly referred to as just the spell. If no number is at the end, then it's just a level 1 spell. Every spell within a series has the same effects, with slight changes.
They're all different, but not like the others.
For example, as spell level increases with the water series, more water appears. For fire, the fire gets a bit hotter and bigger. Water 90 has the same basic effect as water, but water 90 involves several thousand gallons of water instead of just 9, but how it appears and behaves is unchanged. Even within the same spell level, there are still very slight differences. Spells aren't perfect thanks to quantum fluctuations.
Of course.
Is that ever reflected in the diegesis? Does a spell ever go wrong?
Well, if it does, then certainly not from quantum physics or whatever.
Spells have upgrades. Upgrades refer to stronger versions of the same spell with improved efficiency and attack power, but they take longer to cast. With each upgrade, the effects get more intense. At 3rd grade level and above, with rare exceptions, time stops except for the effects. Almost every spell scales with their targets. Actually, let me pause on the time stops except for the effects thing. I don't know if this is going to be translated in our summary very well, but basically what happens when someone casts a spell is that it turns, like the world turns into like a turn-based combat encounter, and nothing can move so that the spell can play out a little animation. Like in the same vein as like Golden Sun or like the older Final Fantasy games. So like when it talks about time stopping, that's what it's referring to. Like a little ice cube needs to appear in front of / around the target and then like explode and then they take damage.
Right, as is known to happen.
As is known.
I would love to do that, but I feel like for a question like that, the answer is less like what's wrong and more where do you start? Because about everything in this book is the exact opposite of how I would think is the right way to do it. The biggest thing, and I can tolerate a lot of other things if we can get this right. There is no tension in this book at all. So it goes back to the Clockwork Orange effect thing that I was saying, where I was dazzled by the first fight in the middle school with the Lavalent, with all the numbers and the status effects and the experience points and stuff, that I didn't catch on at first how repetitive and boring everything is when Knuckles can literally do anything and see anything coming and knows when this book is going to end diegetically. I get wanting to have an iconic character, but like it gets to the point of absurdity after a while.
Yeah, how can you have anything interesting happen when the main character already knows not just how it's going to end, but every single step along the way? Because hypothetically, if he knew how it was going to end but nothing else, that might allow him to foresee something that like scares him and he wants to prevent getting to that point or something. Like maybe he sees, for example, one of the kids being dead and not revivable and he doesn't know how it happens. But that's not the case. He knows basically everything. And then we get a second character at the end of the book, Speed, who is the same. So now we have two all-powerful characters, both of whom are allied with each other. So they're not even canceling each other out or something like that. It's like impossible for it to be interesting. And all the while, I am questioning why the kids are there. Like they have no purpose. They're not even a liability because Knuckles can instantly bring them back to life. So it's just confusing, and it's so distracting to be thinking about that all the time.
Yeah, and the fact that there ends up being 3 of them and they're not even kids. One of them is 27 years old.
Right.
And he's just hanging out with these people. They're not even liabilities is really true because they are completely vestigial. They don't do anything. We get like their setup and we get that Knuckles has a soft spot for humans, but those never match up to anything. Those never lead to any point where any of these things can be developed on.
Yeah, like their character arc is really a straight line. It's like 2 likes science, and at the end 2 becomes a science teacher in the future. Right. Everything that happened with Knuckles is completely irrelevant to that. Same with Ivan's story. Even though Ivan turns into a fucking juicer and is only good at mat ball and professional volleyball because he uses the magic powers Knuckles gave him, he could still have become a good athlete without that. So, like, again, this whole adventure... It doesn't matter that he's there, and in his own storyline, it doesn't matter that he did it. So it's like double bizarre that it happened at all.
For all this like detail given to stats and damage output and speed, there's a lot of these tiny continuity errors and dramatic irony issues that just completely bog the book down. And I feel like there's this reputation this book has for being, oh, so detail-oriented. He thought of everything. But, like, no, this guy just knows how to plug things into the calculator for damage. It muddies the waters in a way that I feel is, like, more ejecting than all the exponents and status effects in the world.
I don't understand that reputation for being detailed either, because, like, sure, there are moments where we get, like, Ivan walked into the quicksand at, like, 4 steps per second or whatever the hell it is. But what we don't get is, like, the temperature of the quicksand, or the level of grittiness of the quicksand, or the temperature of the room, or the depth of the quicksand puddle, or the wind speed outside the chamber. And it's like, once you're being that granular, there's really no reason to not be that granular about literally everything. So all it does for me is draw my attention to where the book is not looking, which is obviously not what it wants. It puts me in this like contrarian headspace almost, where I'm like, oh, so you think you want to be particular? Well, here's 8 million things that I can think of that are also particular. Why didn't you include those? And I don't like that it wakes that reaction in me. That's fucking annoying. But if the book is going to be like that, I kind of find myself tone matching it a little bit.
Yeah. It just gets to the point where it's impossible to read. I get surprised every time we did a dramatic reading because there were always details or something written down that I had no memory of that's just dropped like that.
And it's also been hard for us, or at least for me, to pick where the dramatic readings begin and end, because emotionally the book doesn't really have many curves. Like, I think a lot of our dramatic readings tend to stop at like a crest, or at like a moment where a scene naturally ends. But in this book, moments just like bleed into each other continuously without like miniature emotional wavelengths. So it's super hard to decide where to start and end.
Much in the way that like in terms of plot structure, arcs would be like bisected by chapters in Nova's playlist. There's a tendency of everything to kind of bleed into the next thing and have this very weak connective tissue where, you know, the Lavalent will say, go to Atlantis. And then the next line is they teleported to Atlantis. And then we're in a completely other in 2 lines with no thought given to the transfer between that. It's a lot of whiplash, and the way that it's chunked out is doubly buffeting.
And it gives you no time to appreciate any of the settings either. Like, ostensibly we go to all these cool locales, but none of them feel any more real than the other. They all feel like they're made out of cardboard or something.
Right. They feel very obligatory. No, you're totally right about that, because like I thought that if there's going to be this breadth of locations that we can go to, I don't know, maybe Nick is like a history geek or something and wanted to like share fun facts he knows about these places, but no, it feels like a high school set.
It feels like a set And it doesn't help that the characters are constantly soliloquizing to themselves as well. Knuckles especially, it'll literally say in parentheses like Knuckles to himself, and then it'll be like one of the longest blocks of text in the entire book. And you are not beating the stage play allegations, Nick, I'm afraid. I mean, I guess this kind of thing happens in JRPGs too. It's just you scroll through a bunch of text boxes.
Right.
But it doesn't work in printed fiction. And yeah, I wonder to what degree that it might be because like there just wasn't a forebear to model this on. There wasn't much RPG fiction, and so he was just figuring it out.
Right. He was the trailblazer in that regard. Everyone sounds the same. I would have put that in like suggestions or something, but it's kind of a dumb thing to say for a suggestion. Just make people talk differently. Yeah. Within reason. Like, obviously you can go too far, but
middle schoolers shouldn't sound like a 300-year-old alien, shouldn't sound like a grad student.
Right. They shouldn't all sit around talking and playing Uno.
It really bothered me that everyone is so incurious about Knuckles.
Yeah.
Barring the moments where Ivan is like, hey, Knuckles, I know we're about to enter a dungeon, but can you info dump real quick?
Yeah.
Like, nobody asks any pertinent questions about, like, where he gets his powers from or why he's on Earth. Or, I don't know, like, if I was the government, I would be concerned about Knuckles running around and imprisoning people with impunity and traipsing through secure locations where top secret data is being stored, apparently.
Right, at the military factory.
And they're like, Knuckles, you can go in, but the kids can't go in. And he's like, they won't do anything. I'll make sure. And then the guards are like, okay. If you say so. Like, I don't know. Wouldn't you be more worried about his allegiances? And like, even if you were, there's kind of nothing you could do about it. But that could be played for horror or at least interest.
It's the Superman problem, you know. Like, he's got to be this iconic character that gets acted upon or in relation to like real human characters that are relatable and not Superman.
I don't know where to put this. It's not really a critique. I guess it's kind of a question for you. Was there any reason that you picked up on for where the different elemental masters appeared?
Kind of. Like associative logic. I think it was Laralint and Lockalint were both at, what do you call it?
Mount Everest?
Yeah, we're both at Mount Everest, which are two like pertinent elements. Lalaqualint was in Hawaii. The fire one was in Giza, which is
but first desert. The fire one was in Puerto Rico, or
those are
on
both
a plane en route to Puerto
Rico. Right. I don't know.
I guess it is supposed to be somewhat associated, but why was Lakemalent in a village in where was it again? Zimbabwe? What's this? I don't understand. Maybe something that could be worth considering for draft 2.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. They could go to Portland. Where's like a crappy place with a lot of chemicals? Myrtle Beach.
Ooh. Yeah, they can go to Myrtle Beach. That sounds good.
Okay. I wonder, I don't know this one way or the other. This isn't like a rhetorical question. What do you believe happens after death? That you are so chill about people being struck dead and resurrected? Like, what do you believe awaits us after the pearly gates, after we get through St. Paul or whoever? It's so weird to me how you just had like middle schoolers getting decimated by a tsunami and then just brought them back.
I would like to know this as well, especially in the context of this book, because why are the VFX for the healing spells represented by angels? Okay, who in universe, who designed the visuals for those spells? Do they just emerge by natural processes?
That's
from
just how
like
it works.
does it just work that way?
Yeah.
Because if it does, what does that suggest about the existence of angels? We know demons exist, so I'm not saying that angels can't exist, but like, what are angels? And if angels are real, are these angels that get summoned for healing spells real angels that are actually being summoned? Or are they just representations of angels? If they're just representations, why does this spell so closely resemble like a race of entity or whatever? Race in like the D&D sense. I don't get it. I don't understand the cosmology of this world.
Yeah, it might be more of like I don't know, just like a natural phenomenon with no bearing on anything, and it just happens to be a winged woman. This might just be like a LitRPG thing that you and I aren't familiar with, where these things are just taken for granted. I don't know. If you guys read LitRPG, let me know, because it seemed a little bit baffling, but I was just like, okay, so they're in a video game or whatever, you know?
Mm-hmm. So the fire that gets summoned during a fire spell, is that real fire, or is that just an effect meant to represent what the spell is doing?
See, again, I don't think this level of detail was even thought about. I think it was just considered to be self-evident that, this is what these icons are, because that's what they look like in other video games. I mean, this is a guy who thought that because grass looked spiky, it would work like a damage strip, where if you fell on it, you would die. Like, a lot of things I think are just taken for granted about the world. I don't think we needed the hex numbers. I feel like suggesting that they would be taken out would reduce so much of the charm of this book, but I don't think we needed them. I just have to say it.
Yeah, they're particularly intrusive, somehow even more so than all the numbers.
Yeah.
Because, like, what are you supposed to do with that information? Are you supposed to go to, like, a color picker and, like, compare? Right. Who is this for? Those are the moments that make me think that this is, like, a design document for a game more than an actual book. Because why would you ever need to reference the true tone? Unless you were designing the character, which you're not doing. You're just imagining it in your head.
It's for the graphic designers.
It's for the graphic design. It's for the fan artists that inevitably will be
making Knuckles-flation.
No. No. Oh, that didn't need to be said. Knuckles casts teleport. The team, including Tyler, appears at a beach in an open area near Australia's Great Barrier Reef. It is night, and the near full moon is blocked by the 7/8 broken, almost overcast clouds of the altostratus and cirrocumulus types. Storm clouds, cumulonimbus, are visible far out of the ocean. A 15 miles per hour wind blows over the brilliant blue water, causing 1-foot waves. A few beachgoers are around, some windsurfing and others swimming. A few boats of all types, mostly as yachts but no commercial ships, are out at sea. A few law enforcement officers are scattered around, patrolling the area. What are you doing, Tyler?
How did you know my name? Who are you three?
You might have misread that. It says Tyler, not Borat. But we can roll with it.
Oh, yeah.
I'm world-renowned Knuckles, the spellcasting alien. I can sense anyone's name with ease.
Just like in Balan Wonderworld. I was just trying to get to rocks. What? I wrote that right. I was just trying to get to rocks in the desert for a report I was doing, and all of a sudden, I was placed in that strange hot area, chained up. I don't know how it happened, but man, that scary, evil-sounding voice really spooked me when I heard it upon you arriving. What about you?
I'm after getting rid of that evil force, even though it's apparently very powerful.
Where are you going, though?
Right now, we're in northeastern Australia, the area where I'm sensing the next event. I'm going wherever my sensibility tells me danger lurks.
Woohoo! More travel, more adventures! Yeehaw! Can I join you?
I think that'd be a good place to call it.
Yeehaw! Yeehaw! Wahoo! Yippee!
Jihad!
Jihad! My critiques this time around are really nebulous and kind of come with paths forward. So this is more just kind of like a critique / suggestion rounds. I have some like must-have things that I feel like we need to see and some wish list things, not in any particular order, but there's something I want to call out now. Towards the end, there's like this suggestion that evil as a concept is making magic, or can make magic less effective. There's some yin and yang between magic and evil, which would obviously make like magic good. I really like this concept, but what I'd like more is more definition from Nick Smith what good and evil, or at least like relative morality, actually mean. Like, what is evil in Nick Smith's eyes? Because we have some interesting moralities at play here.
This was on my thought list as well. So characters who are evil have like a dark morality meter, but they also tend to correlate with characters who have like a pure black dot on their character sheet that
Right.
means that they
Are evil.
and they have an affinity for dark magic, but dark magic is not necessarily evil. But also there's a master Ledarkalent, which means that there is a parallel world that is Earth,
Right.
but it's made up of purely dark energy, which is not dark energy in like the physics sense. It's like dark energy in the like the magic of this world sense. But it's not necessarily evil, but it's closely correlated with evil.
Right.
So what is evil, and what does it mean for evil to have like a physical manifestation? Can evil be identified objectively? Can good be identified objectively? I think that the book is implying that they can, but we don't actually get confirmation.
I don't mind these definitions being very broad and very arch.
Yeah.
I don't need like a very nuanced discussion on the problem of evil in my stupid lit RPG book. But I think at least having those arch definitions would have helped things move along, at least to like better characterize Seth King, other than like a kind of sniveling child bully character. I don't know. It did kind of make me scratch my chin. Some people would believe that 99.96% of people in a city voting to kill this guy by state-sponsored shooting would be evil, you know? So
Right.
like, are they also evil in Nick's eyes? Like, and I don't even care what the answer is. I want to see this talked about.
I want to know what Nick's perspective is on it. Some people would probably consider Knuckles evil for running around with the ability to predict all kinds of disasters and then choose to go to a middle school pizza party rather than do anything about it.
Yeah.
And send robbers with ski masks directly to prison when they
Right.
break into a pizza parlor.
They pulled that. Yeah.
He doesn't seem like a good guy. He seems pretty negligent, honestly.
Yeah, he does. That reminds me, that's another one of my big ones is do not have a pink alien monkey abduct 2 middle schoolers and then make them hang out with the 27-year-old. Do not do that. Age Tyler down, get rid of him, honestly. He offers so little. He likes rocks, which is technically a form of science, so he's
True.
redundant with 2. And while you're doing that, you can play up Knuckles' like idle desire to teach humans magic. Like, maybe just to make this not completely fucking weird, Ivan and 2 are in this feeder school with the Eric Ramstad Middle School, where it's a special program to help humans gain magical powers from an early age because it takes them longer to learn. And they have some pre-existing relationship with Knuckles where at least he's like a camp counselor rather than a stranger who like takes them on this adventure.
Yeah, who like kidnaps them from Ivan's house, basically.
Right. Just something that could just be used for a little bit of lamp shading. I don't like the optics. at all.
I think it's supposed to feel like a Saturday morning cartoon vibe.
Yeah.
Or like a Doctor Who thing where like we just take it for granted that Knuckles is a good guy who has good intentions and will protect and educate these vulnerable children. But in 2025, it definitely feels a little off.
Yeah, I mean, I would say even then it would be off. Even in the 2010s, this would be
Definitely,
pretty bad.
yeah.
So
It bothers me conceptually, but I didn't actually feel squicked out reading it because the book is so... It's innocent. It's so innocent. Like, I don't think it's capable of conceiving of predators. Like,
Right.
like its idea of evil is what if a mayor lost an election and then he was like, "Grr,
Mad
I'm
about
gonna
it."
destroy the city."
Right.
Like,
I'm not accusing Ulillillia of any sort of like misrepresentation of anything.
No.
It's a matter of principle more than I had any concerns about its implementation in the book.
I think that we should probably cut Speed out of the story just entirely. Like, he can be mentioned as like a former mentor, but I do not think he needs to show up in person. It adds literally nothing. If anything, it makes a problem of an overpowered protagonist even worse.
Yeah.
And especially when he runs through the entire final dungeon 15 times with his like unfathomable speed and is like, okay, here's what we need to do to get through it. And then they just do. Why even have a final dungeon at that point? It's erased from the narrative functionally.
times. 15 times. It's crazy. Yeah, no, I think the easiest thing to do is just to get rid of him. I was trying to come up with like a counterpoint for like justifying keeping him around, and there's honestly none. We don't gain anything. The speed boost he offers, well, he doesn't offer them a speed boost and then refuses the team speed boost because he doesn't need it. So it's just like he offers less than nothing to this arrangement.
Also, he has a special move called Speed Busher. Is that right?
I think so. Speed, yeah.
What does that mean? Is it short for ambush?
Bushing, like, I don't know. That sounds like threshing. No, I don't know what bushing means.
A bushing is a type of plane bearing, an insulated device that allows a conductor to pass through. I don't think this is
I don't think that's it.
That just bothered me every time I read it. I don't understand what this is, and I don't understand why it doesn't follow the conventions of all the other powers.
Yeah.
Like, I guess it's supposed to be equivalent to Knuckles' gliding, which is also kind of ineffable. But the fact that it has like a name and it functions like an attack because it like creates a fireball, I'm like, this feels like a spell, but it's like operating by different rules, and I don't like that.
But I do kind of wonder, in broad strokes, how like funny this book was meant to be, with all of these little things or all of these little moments that you just kind of giggle while you summarize, because it's so ridiculous and zany and cartoony that you do kind of wonder, maybe at least some of this was completely intentional, part of the charm and the reason that it was written.
It didn't even occur to me that some of this was meant to be funny. I wonder.
Really?
Yeah, no, not even at all. I really felt like this was somebody's like deeply passionate passion project, I suppose, and they were trying so sincerely to articulate something that was important to them. Like it really feels a lot of the time like Nick is trying to describe something that he's seeing in his head.
Right.
Like he's trying to copy down the images that are going on up here in words. And the places where the book is not working are the places where that is coming into tension with our idea of how fiction should work.
Right.
Because fiction is obviously not just when you describe in as much detail as you can the images that play out in your head. Like there's a lot of craft and intentionality to it. And I think maybe we are just at odds with each other in terms of end goal.
Yeah. I don't know. My only thing that I was thinking about was the phrase over 9,000 is used one too many times. And I'm like, so I know this guy was like Goon adjacent. So like, was he ever on any forums or anything? I don't know.
I mean, there's no way that isn't referencing the meme.
But it may not be. It may be that 9,000 was the sum of this incredibly complex like formula that Ulillillia was working on with the appendix.
It was an inevitable result of his esoteric but inflexible logical reasoning.
Yes, slash Jin. I mean,
he was 9, just so committed to it. He was like, well, no, it came out as 9,000, so by God, I'm writing down 9,000 and not a digit less.
Okay. Having Knuckles being emotionless, and speaking of interesting, doesn't make a lot of sense here. In fact, he has a lot of emotions, and I know he has some emotions. He's almost emotionless, described in the prose, but he's got a lot of emotions. He just talks a little weird. Or he just articulates himself a little differently. Like I could have seen like a more like Spock thing done with him, but he just seems to be, I don't know, a guy who doesn't give a shit about anything, but he like gets annoyed, he gets jealous, he wants things like teaching humans magic. He has like a dry sense of humor, I think.
Nominally he wants them. I don't know if he actually does or if he just thinks that he does.
Right. So I
feel like for all the time we spend in Ted, I have no access to his actual desires. He feels very blasé about everything.
Yeah.
Which I guess is a reasonable way to be when you can do anything. The world probably does seem a little bit more immaterial.
Right, which is why you have a Watson character, so that we have someone to observe this character, but we have the camera just on this motherfucker constantly. He's just jumping around with his purple monkey fur. And I'm like, you have like 3 characters with wants and potential arcs that you can just be using, but we worry about Knuckles.
I guess that's because Knuckles was the imaginary friend from childhood, and so it would be like a betrayal
to
make him not the main character.
Yeah.
It would be like, who is the like teenage character in the Superman show that people hate? Is it Jimmy?
Yeah, Jimmy Olsen.
Yeah, it would be like if. Oh wait, there was a Jimmy Olsen show that wasn't there, so this comparison's not gonna work. I was gonna say it would be like if we made the Superman show about Jimmy Olsen, it would piss everybody off.
I guess. I don't know.
I don't know. This metaphor is breaking down before I even began. Forget about it. Did you notice that this book has an interesting, I don't know, I guess I would say fondness for Oldsmobiles?
I really didn't. No. What do you
Especially
mean?
in the beginning, the car that the military prisoner escapes in is an Oldsmobile,
Oh, yeah,
and then
yeah,
an Oldsmobile shows up again not too long afterwards, I believe.
I think so.
I wonder what it is about that particular car.
Probably a popular car in North Dakota in the 90s. I don't know.
I like the name Oldsmobile.
Yeah.
Irrespective of this book or the way that it is used in the book, I do
Right.
think it's a good name for a car.
Well, and I like those little, like, signs of the author's life and perceptions. Like, wherever he was at this point, he saw a lot of Oldsmobiles. So it makes a certain level of sense, and you can just picture this in your head, how he came up with everything.
That in the middle school social.
Right. This middle school social dance. It's like, if only my 400-year-old echidna friend were here,
Then I would be popular.
then I would be popular. Yeah, there's like no worry. I'm not saying I want this. This isn't a critique, but like, there's no thought of like the social status of Ivan and Two. And I don't know, you would think that there might be like a jock nerd dynamic, or I don't know, like maybe they're both kind of ostracized in their own way, so they bond over that. Like, there's a lot of things that could be done that Nick would be able to relate to and use autobiographical elements from that we can have here.
I bet you could even count on one hand that is slightly larger than it would be for a human my size.
40%.
You could probably count the number of times that Ivan and Two even talk to each other.
Yeah.
Like, they often talk one after the other in response to something Knuckles did, but I don't think they ever converse more than twice.
Everyone just talks past each other constantly.
They all just have these little reaction cutaways like it's an anime.
Yeah. We have this period of time, which is called the entire book, but especially like, let's say the last two acts, where there's very little escalation. And I think a lot of that comes from the fact that our antagonist is just kind of revealed to us via searching for Wikipedia articles and reading Wikipedia articles, which just did not set up Seth King as this very threatening figure in my mind. I don't know if Wikipedia articles was the right way to go there. And it made me think about like the handling of Seth's character vis-a-vis the tension of the story and the plot progression. And this was something that I mentioned in the Empress Teresa episode, kind of furtively, was the movie Gondahar. So, and I want to bring that back up in the context of this book. If you haven't seen the movie before, basically there is a society who is attacked by people from the future, these robotic metal men. And it seems to be coming from, 1,000 years into the future. And there's this super powerful, super intelligent entity who's presently a good guy who's like, yeah, this is probably me. I'm going to go insane in 1,000 years. You should inject this poison into me in a bit, but not right now, because I still got more work to do, but before I go insane. So it just kind of goes from there. We need to do something like this with Seth King, where he's not just dropped on our laps as a bad guy. There's no transformation when we go 1,800 years into the future and he goes from evil to he's still evil, and now he controls the world and made it evil world.
Yeah.
So I was thinking we can stretch the whodunit identity of the evil entity or whatever, the evil force, and then backdate the present to right before they're doing the mayoral elections of Amazonia. So we see him as like this Emperor Palpatine in the Clone Wars kind of thing, where he's like, oh, I'll help you figure out who this evil force is. And then we have like this element of betrayal. And, we can see him go through this very tumultuous time of losing the mayoral election.
Yeah. I like that. And I think we could combine that with a suggestion that I was kind of cooking up, which is Seth needs some kind of relationship to Knuckles, like ideologically, I think, in order for him to like feel like an interesting villain.
Yeah.
And I think that if we give him an actual like interpersonal relationship with your suggestion, we could easily loop my idea in by having him slowly become like opposed to the idea of humans having access to magic. Like he could want Knuckles not to achieve this goal, and he could want all of the magic for himself. Like maybe he thinks, ooh, other humans are too weak-minded, but I can handle magic, so I will be the new Knuckles. I will have all the magic on Earth, and I will hoard it for myself and control all of these weak-willed people who aren't worthy of it. I don't know.
Yeah. That would be a very good foil for Knuckles' whole, like, I'm going to train everyone to use magic, and have that be a natural counterpoint. As long as there's some sort of relationship between these two characters, or somehow we've heard of Seth before he was the evil ex-mayoral candidate. There's more that could have been done on that front to
Dudes will lose one mayoral election and turn evil. Don't hate me for this, but I also kind of want more of Steve. I kind of want more Steve. Like, I kind of want Steve to be slimier. Like, I want him to be on the side of the good guys and that he wants to stop Seth, but I also kind of want him to be like a politician who's like very careerist in like a Prescott way. So like you get the idea that he's helping Knuckles and the kids because they also want to protect Amazonia, but Steve only wants to protect Amazonia because that's the only way he can continue to advance himself politically and enrich himself. I think that would make him more interesting. I don't know that that would actually add anything to the story thematically, but really just anything any problems that can't be instantly solved with magic and are a little bit more nuanced and complex, I think would be a welcome addition at this stage of drafting. Like, it doesn't have to all be figured out, but something that's like a bit more interpersonal conflict in that way could get us moving in the right direction, I think. Maybe Steve could be the mayor instead of like the vice mayor or whatever. He could have been the opposition. Oh, yeah.
And we have this, like, I don't know, we can use this as an exploration of relative morality because, you know, is being a schemy kind of braden stranger but operating within the bounds of the law, is that immoral or evil when you can just capture the forces of the elements and use it to attack people?
Right. Which one of these things is really more evil? Destroying the world or being a slimy small town politician? You decide.
I don't know. Sometimes I wonder.
You and the Johnstones both.
This is more of a wish list item because I don't know if I could really ask for this in like a critique group setting, but I do want to say I struggled very much with identifying what the Legend of the 10 Elemental Masters, Princes of Fire Earth, Volume 1. I was trying to understand what it was trying to say. And that's not some kind of like litfic superiority thing. Like, everything that has ever been written is also about something else. Empress Teresa is about power and corruption. Twilight is about identity and belonging. Fourth Wing is about loyalty and trust. Like, every book, no matter how I think of it, is about something else. But I'm really struggling with this one. I don't know if you had any ideas about like what this book could be saying other than this is the story of the purple alien.
I admit that this is friend who's too woke of me, but I kept getting hung up on the way that Knuckles will just incidentally help the military and the police while doing other things. Yeah. This is definitely not like what the story is about, but it is a consistent motif. And the way that, with the exception of the opening scene where he's going out of his way to capture some kind of political prisoner, all the other times that he helps the police or the military is incidental. Like, just some criminals show up, and he often talks about like criminals or like, I'm cleaning up the streets or whatever, and I just teleport them off to jail. Like, it reveals something about Nick's worldview.
Yeah.
But I would love to hear what you think this story is about more broadly, because it's definitely not like police or the military.
I hope not, but if you'll permit me this very presumptive analysis on it, I think this book is and should be more about self-improvement. So this is a man whose whole youth was plagued with these phobias, from everything from like blue water to mirrors to grass that stands straight up to words that start with P, who viewed every one of his human experiences on this earth and his perceived shortcomings as just an EXP bar that he needed to fill up.
Okay.
So I wanted to see elements of that inserted into the human kids. Like, Ivan struggles with being brave, and he learns to be brave by gliding around and overcoming his fears, or two struggles socially, but she grinds her communication stat with the masters of the elements because they're these chatty people, but they're also like science related and she can study them. You know, it could like,
Yeah.
there are little traces of these character details in the text. I'm not making this up. I just don't think that it's been brought out. And I know that these are things that Nick Smith thinks about because this is how he's lived most of his life since being discovered on that Something Awful thread.
I would really like that. That would improve so much. I like the 2 suggestion especially because I think that having, I mean, if we're going to make the elemental masters so inexplicably friendly, getting more into why that is the case, or just getting more of it would be fun because it's so strange. And I also want to know more about them. Like, okay, this book doesn't need more mechanics, but mechanistically, I do want to know more about the elemental masters because going into this book, I was imagining the elemental masters were individuals who had trained in power over or power alongside an element.
Me too.
And had mastered it, you could say. But instead, it turns out that elemental masters just means that they are like the master of that element, and master is like a class of enemy that is like a rank above. Yeah, exactly. It's like a rank above the regular version of Lavalent, which is the same thing as a master Lavalent, just smaller and not as powerful.
Right.
It's like literally just an elite enemy, I guess is what I'm saying. They clearly have some kind of power over their realm because you have to like speak their name and a little spell to like fix their world after they've left it. Right. But I don't know. I just want to know like more about how that works, I guess, because it's very confusing and it feels like it belongs to a slightly different magic system on top of the main one and the one where like Speed gets his speed from and Knuckles gets his gliding from.
Talk about the only RPG that I've ever played before. I was just kind of picture them as like legendary Pokemon where, you know, they kind of represent this concept in like a mascot way, but they don't necessarily like, I don't know, they're not that tied into it. They're just representations, but it is weird. And I loved how friendly they all were. They were like, my name is Master Lavalent. What can I do for you?
What can I do for you?
It's like...
It reminded me of Noah, actually, when I was reading it, because it's very like, can I get the door for you, ma'am? Yeah. Oh, don't forget your hat. Like, whatever phrase you said during our Noah episode. Right. It has that exact same energy. It's very chummy.
Yeah, chummy. That's the right word for it. I just need more of those guys floating around.
And it seems like it's favoring Master Laquilent already. Like, I think he has more dialogue than the others. So that would be a good place to begin expanding.
Have them have little characters. You don't have to give them all character arcs because we just don't have the time for 10 of them.
God knows we don't need that.
It's a lot like the Balan Wonderworld book where we have to like cycle through. Like he deposits each and every master off at the element that they came from, and it's just like, really?
Can't we find some workaround for this later on? Like, can't more of them have died or something already? So... And that's something that can even be played for drama. Like, we expect there's going to be 10, we get 5 in, and then we realize that, oh no, Seth has already killed 5 of them. Like, they're just gone now, and it moves us a little closer to the final confrontation. It doesn't feel so obligatory.
They just respawn. You could be everyone but Island and Ivan and 2.
Okay, I'll be everyone except Isla and 2.
Isla and 2, yeah.
A waitress comes to the team. Hi, Knuckles. Are you here to eat? I don't eat. But these 3 are. Would you like a table or a booth?
Stupid. I prefer a booth. Wait, no, that's not the... I prefer a booth, but I generally don't care.
The waitress leads the team to the nearest booth. Ivan and Tyler are together, and Knuckles and 2 are on the other side. Knuckles stands instead, so he can see the tabletop. I didn't catch that the first time, and he was just standing on the seat. Okay.
Like Cotton Hill.
Would you like anything to drink?
Mountain Dew or Mellow Yellow, whichever you have. I want what you get. I want what you get. I want what you get when 2 atoms of hydrogen covalently bond to 1 oxygen. That is water.
That's what I said. Sodium chloride.
Right. Sprite or 7-Up, whichever you have.
I never need to drink anything, nor eat anything. Do you know what you want to order? Ivan and 2 want a free 1-topping medium pizza. Knuckles takes a coupon out of his chest and hands it over. Eric Romstad Middle School gave 2 of these to them at the graduation party. Okay, what do you want to order?
Ivan says, I want a plain cheese pizza, thin crust. I'm a vegetarian. I hate meat. Tyler
Let's go,
says,
Ivan.
Yeah. Tyler says, I want a thin crust pepperoni pizza.
You'll have to pay for the extra toppings beyond what the coupons allow.
2 says, I guess I'll go with pepperoni as well. Then again, split it between half cheese and half pepperoni. Although I would prefer a thick crust, I wouldn't mind going with a thin crust. So why are you running your mouth to?
Basically, then, we have 1 pizza, a cheese only, and the other as pepperoni. 2 will get 1/3 of each, while the others get 2/3 of their type. That way, it's fairly split and easier to make. I'll pay for the second pizza, drinks, and the extra topping. It's like a Professor Layton puzzle. It's like, how do we meet all of the requirements of each party member? Okay.
This is like in crunch time in the plot, by the way. I don't know if our summary is going to make that obvious, but like they're about to face the bad guy.
You're not going to read the part where 2 says, I'll have my water with frozen water. That is ice, please.
So final thoughts. I think there are a lot of seeds here, to use a gardening metaphor. There's a lot of seeds here that have begun to sprout, but not necessarily grow together or grow into any sort of cohesive whole. And I hope that something that you picked up on, dear club member, is that a lot of these fixes that could bring this more into a space of, yeah, this is a story, you know, like right now, this is not a story, but it would be very easy to inject certain details that don't even necessarily affect the action or the core event loops. You can just plug that in and it's less of a chore than maybe Lauren Davis may have, where her problems are more deep. I know that there are previous versions of this book. I think mine is the 2014, the 14th revision. Okay. So I hope that by, the 25th revision based on the timing, I hope to see more of like a conventional narrative being used here, because I think your unique way of viewing the world and the way that you're presenting this system that you created, delivered under different circumstances, might give us a lot of interesting insights into video game worlds and stuff like that. But yeah, this hurts to read. It is completely obtuse at every turn. Hex codes, numbers, exponents, it's all like gonna give me a brain aneurysm.
This is gonna sound probably mean. I feel like I've been sounding accidentally mean through a lot of this, and I don't mean to. It's not my intention at all, I swear. I would suggest that before we get a 15th revision, or anything approaching it, even a 14th and a half, I think that Nick should read more books. Because it's not embarrassing to admit if you haven't read many books, but if you're going to write a book, how can you do that if you have no idea what a book resembles? And I'm not saying, again, also not a litfic supremacy thing. You don't have to go read litfic. This clearly wants to be some kind of LitRPG. So go read some good LitRPGs. Go listen to some good D&D podcasts. Mm-hmm. Those would be 2 great places to get some ideas of how these stories are successfully formatted. And this book needs to approach itself, I guess, on the level of formatting, I think, as much as it needs to think about traditional fiction concepts like plot and character. Because clearly it's trying to do something interesting with the formatting that more closely resembles, at least in Nick's mind, how an RPG would look if rendered as a fully read experience. And I'm not saying, I don't think that's impossible at all. So I think that we just need to back up and look at how other people have been doing it and decide what we like and what we don't like and try again from there.
That would be an interesting system of feedback, because this is one of the first instances of LitRPG fiction as we know it. So it might be kind of the story that all of the descendants have some elements of. and to have that in turn feed on its own descendants. I wonder what this book will ultimately turn into as the wheels of time turn.
I've been rereading Alice Plants the Making of a Story recently to prepare for a little summer class that I'm teaching. It's her philosophy of workshop that there are stories that often show up in the workshop space that are not yet ready to be there. Her idea is that stories need to first basically have most of the problems that the author is able to identify and solved before other people can see it. Because otherwise, other people are just going to be pointing out like really glaring problems that the author might already know about, and it's kind of a waste of everybody's time. And also, when you show something to somebody else, it kind of implies a level of completeness that like sometimes just isn't there. And I think that although this book has been published, it's still very much in that state. Like, it's allowing itself to be frozen, that's her word, into like a final form before it has actually gotten to something that resembles what I think it wants to be. So I think this book needs to go back into like the private editing space,
Right.
solve a bunch of its problems, and then come back to the public when it is in a spot where Nick is like, I know there's still stuff that's not working, but I don't know necessarily what that is, or I want other people's feedback on it. Like, it's just too early to be effectively workshopped because, like, what can you not say about what's not working in this book? Like, again, that is mean. I'm sorry. There's no way of saying that. That's not mean. But, like, everything is not working. How can you even begin? Like, you can't really.
Where do you start?
Because the characterization isn't working.
No.
The dialogue isn't working.
No.
The setting isn't working. The plot in terms of like arc progression, Freitag pyramid bullshit isn't working. The description is not working. The scene versus narration is not working. And it's impossible to disentangle those things completely, so it's really hard to pick them out and talk about like how this or that is still needs work, because all of it, literally every single aspect of it does.
Every single thing.
Including the world building.
Right. And all the appendixes. It was a fun time. It passed by like a breeze. Yeah. Oh, jeez. Yeah.
Right.
Like, there's so many enters. Not like Alex Astor enters, but since it's a script, you know, everything's got to be like centered and compressed. So, yeah, no, I mean, it needs a lot of elbow grease, but what's there is a very interesting insight into a very unique way of looking at the world. And I think there's something to be said about that, and something that we could bring out with maybe a more, you know, like Jay was saying, a conventional, recognizable narrative rather than where we currently are in our state.
Yeah, it feels like this is skipping steps somehow, like it's trying to subvert aspects of fiction that it doesn't even understand. It's when a bad jazz soloist gets the solo section, like they're trying to break all the rules, but they don't know what they are.
They don't know what the rules are. It's just like jazz.
It's more about the notes that you don't play.
We really faced the biggest challenge that we faced in a while with this book, and I think you should consider that a point of pride. I mean, not everyone could generate prose so unique that it baffles us in the way that it has with this go-around. But I certainly enjoyed the adventures of the little purple alien and his middle school and 27-year-old friends, and I loved hearing all of their adventures collecting spheres that they keep captured inside of Knuckles' breast. So, and if that's what you're here for in your literary consumption, then this is the book for you. Could highly recommend it. But I think that's all the time we have in the club room today. I don't have anything else. Is there anything from your side, Jay?
I wanted to plug a couple of things. I've been meaning to get better at plugging things at the end of these episodes because I feel like we always forget. But I had a recent video come out on the poetry in Baldur's Gate 3. I figure since this is sort of a LitRPG episode, it might make sense to plug it here. So check that out if you're at all interested. I also had some poems come out in the most recent issue of Kestrel, which is a West Virginia-based literary magazine. And I am so honored to have been published alongside like some really, really amazing poetry and short fiction. So if you have even like a passing interest in that, I highly, highly recommend getting an issue of that. I don't get any kickbacks for it, so this is not me like trying to secretly get you to pay me or something. I just really, really liked the issue, and I would like for more people to get some eyes on it. I'm also going to have a poem on display at a certain museum coming up very soon. Details pending, but I will be sharing those eventually, so keep your eyes peeled.
Ooh, very exciting. I've got nothing. Please be sure to like and subscribe, comment what your favorite lit RPG or RPG is even, so that we can give Nick Smith a list of recommended reading for moving forward.
A summer reading list, if you will.
Yeah, a summer reading list. If you want to support us, you can join at either the English Club member or Order the Orb Fox tiers. There's more information about that in our Ko-Fi and our channel's memberships page. All members get early access to our content, as well as Not an Audiobook, a Crown of Starlight companion podcast, where we go chapter by chapter through the book Crown of Starlight, so you get to say that you've read this book without having to go out of your way and enter in horribly ill-advised eBay bidding wars to obtain copies for you and your co-host. We spare you this fate. But if not, just be sure to interact any way that you can. We love hearing from you guys, and we will see you guys around campus.
See you around campus.
Text appears on the screen in 5 groups. The first group states, Knuckles continuously battles in the fighting arena, but the staff needs 13,492 years before they found something at his level. It would be another 2,482 years later when Knuckles surpasses Speed's level. The second group states, Ivan gets involved with sports and becomes a professional at both mat ball and volleyball. His full control over learning abilities makes him tower over everyone else, easily beating the masters 200 levels below them. The third group states, 2, with her dream of being a science teacher, uses the adventure simulators to do just that. She often throws big parties that everyone has fun with. 2 continued to explore the city's underside and used her scientific skills to help with the city's development and reconstruction. Tyler began to study the rocks in Amazonia's underside to help the city's development and reconstruction. He occasionally went into the fighting arenas and worked his way up to the master level in 120 years. Speed just kept guard on his planet. Another invasion occurs 3 years later, but this one was simple, and the invaders make peace without any fighting. And that's
why did you bring it up?
The end. Right? Something happens, but it wasn't really that cool. Don't worry about it.